The enlargement. My wife, 45 female, of 3 years keeps her first marriage very guarded, and I, 53 male, am only given access in small tablespoons any information about her during that time period. I accepted this in our relationship and normally brush away the little lies here and there that she creates to divert the conversation. My concern now is her lack of trust to allow me to read messages between her oldest son and her ex-husband. Both people I do not trust, and both continue to abuse her and take advantage of her kindness. I have taken on the responsibility of raising her younger son. She wants her adult son to come live with us, and I don't like this at all, since I know so little about this adult child personality, and because she limits me by restricting me from her communication with him. She states those conversations are private. In my mind, it feels more like she is keeping secrets. Other than that, I have no reservations with my wife to have full access to all parts of my life without a second though. I feel I should change all my passwords and restrict sharing anything about my adult children and our conversations. I know this sounds childish. Am I just being insecure and partially controlling, wanting to read their correspondence between them without it being filtered by my wife? The older son is 20. The younger child is 13 and has been with me for the past 4 years. Ex does not pay a cent. Mother must beg to get him to send a couple of bucks to the kid on his birthday. It is my house before marriage. But California is a community property state, a lesson I learned well after my first marriage ended. I believe a relationship with the older son should be established first. My own grown children do not live with us for the simple fact that it would put a strain on our new life together. A point she understands when it is my adult biological children, but not when it is her adult child. He lives with his biological father as his mother support him with college tuition. His father was supposed to be financially responsible for the oldest son, but this is not the case. I know the bond between a mother and son is strong, and I don't expect her to just let him go without. But I can handle most of this emotional baggage. The secrecy is what bothers me the most, when she is expecting me to pick up the piece for a seed that is not mine but another's responsibility. The adult child does not have any ambition to find a part-time job while in college. His mother does not push the issue with him. All 3 of my biological children worked at least part-time when in college to help with cost. A fact she knows about and says she admires. The father only wanted the oldest child. His younger son, who lives with us, has a learning handicap and was easily rejected by his father and his family. No job. Refuses to even look for part-time work. Son, he is about to complete his sophomore year. My wife works part-time from home. This is a choice I agreed to. I knew that my stepson would need extra support and attention to adjust to his new family structure, and for his mom to help with his studies. Disgust confronted my wife this morning about the situation. I was direct in that her oldest son is a stranger to me and that I do not want a stranger living in our house. I was clear that she needed to take ownership of my position, since she is the one that kept me from building any kind of a relationship with him. I put her in a reverse position, in that how would she like it if I allowed one of my adult nieces to live with us that she knew nothing of? In regard to her ex-husband, I was very clear that I expect to be notified and be a part of the conversations when she does communicate with him. I wanted the same level of transparency from her that I give. She heard my words and became a bit defensive. But in the end, I could tell she was processing. Time will tell if she took my words to heart or not. It was clear to her the lack of respect she has shown me in our marriage will not be tolerated. We are either a team in life or not. Move to Texas, where alimony can only be no greater than 50% of the time married. There is no way I could live like this, constantly second-guessing her as well myself. Would feel terrible for my stepson, 13. Even though he is built a little backwards. We have built a father-son relationship over the past 4 years, and my adult kids included him in their conversations and some gameplay. We both shared dreams of travel after I retire. I was willing to put off retirement until my stepson graduates from high school. We both then plan to sell off main home and possibly buy 2 smaller homes in different climate zones after a few years of travel. I agreed that youngest son would need to be set up with some kind of accommodations and career-type training. She shared the same dream with me. All 3 of my grown children are in careers, with the youngest of my children finishing up a master's program at Cal Poly. Again, I agreed and realized my stepson will need support, and our plans are on hold until he graduates. What I did not recognize was the fact she would bring her adult child into the house without allowing me to build a relationship and be a partner in their communications and excluded in their world. If I suddenly have this stranger in our house and he continues to not pull his own weight, his brother might end up being the same, and our shared dreams before marriage were created in smoke. Her adult child has a perfectly capable father to wipe his butt, just like my biological adult children have me and know my plans for the future when I retire. Each are allowed to visit, and I will help financial to establish their independence. I understand having the same support for her children, but to exclude me from conversation with her adult son and ex-husband that paints a picture of our retirement plan changing for the non-emergency care of her oldest son is simply unacceptable and unfair in our marriage. It is now even clearer that I am not the one that changed or tried to manipulate the relationship after the wedding. My comment, Everything should be an open book between you two. Something is going on where you will always be third fiddle. Get the fudge out. Leave like there is no tomorrow. She will tell you knock on the door. Any age you are, or a stepdad. OP responds, I do feel that constantly with my stepson. Going on 3 years. Had living with me since 9. Constantly expanding his view of life and going on many trips here in the Southwest. Fishing, hiking, dune buggas and those dreadful teacher meeting. But never any recognition, just a mundane attitude. His biological father calls him a few times a year and he is as happy as a clam. His mother tells me that his father never spent quality time with this kid. But I keep hoping that in the future he will see a world of difference in the two of us as his male role models. Story 2. It's been 6 months since I found about my husband of 18 years affair and I'm not sure what to do. Right after D-Day I so wanted to divorce him and I met with an attorney. But, for the sake of our kids, 14 and 11, I haven't followed through and want to try to see if our marriage can be saved. Since D-Day he has been living in the guest bedroom and the kids aren't aware anything is wrong. He is remorseful and is doing everything a wayward spouse should be doing. We talk kindly to each other but I am reluctant to talk about the marriage. He often asks me if I'd like to talk but I just don't feel it right now, so we haven't talked about the marriage in some time. We did a few marriage counseling appointments a few months back but they didn't do much for me, so we haven't had any counseling since then. My main issue right now is I just can't stand the thought of being intimate with him at all, to the point where I don't want him anywhere near me, no hand holding, hugging, kissing. This frustrates him as he really wants to give me a hug but knows how I feel and respects that, so he doesn't ask anymore. I can't picture me ever getting to the point where I want to get close to him, so I'm basically stuck in this limbo between not wanting him out of my life yet and wanting to be close to him again. I've got proof of all the disgusting chats, emails, and photos he exchanged. He has stopped cheating. At least I think so, as he's been accountable since D-Day. I opened a chat app on his phone and everything was there. He ended it right after I confronted him. I do believe he isn't cheating, and I also believe he wants to stay married. I like the idea of trying a different counselor to help figure out what direction is best for me instead of just being stuck. It was a brief physical affair. Busted him after he was in it for a month. They had sex twice. Really hurts though, as once was in our house. Thought of that makes me sick still. I still do have feelings for him, so I like the idea of giving it more time and not forcing myself to move forward right now. Just not knowing how much time and when the time is right to try is the most frustrating part of where I'm at right now. It was a physical affair. He said she meant nothing to him, said it was just a form of self-satisfaction. Not even close. As far as the kids go, when we are around them things seem normal to them as we talk and joke around like we always have, so they think everything is okay between he and I. It's real tough to carry on like this though. He said he was done with the affair before I caught him as he was feeling guilty. Maybe he's just saying that, but if I hadn't caught him, based on the disgusting emails leading up to me busting him, I have a hard time seeing him breaking it off with her. No other affairs that I know of, but last spring he was involved in a weird and gross online thing where he was chatting with a married couple where they wanted him to join them, never led to anything and seemed he broke it off. I know this as I also found all of that gross crap in his email. I do trust him now as based on his guilt and remorse I don't believe he'd step out again. I don't ever think I could look at him again without feeling some bitterness. Marriage counseling would be great, but right now I feel like I would be forcing myself to go and my heart wouldn't be in it. As far as the kids, I don't think they know he's sleeping in another room as it's downstairs, and he makes the bed. If they do bring it up, the story is Maya and his snoring keep us both up at night, and when we are together hopefully everything seems normal to them. Not a great way for me to live though. They had slept together on our boat in the garage, not in the house, while my son was inside sleeping no less. What a piece of crap. What if he walked out in the garage? I loved our family boat, but I can't picture being on it ever again. He offered to try selling it, but I told him not right now. I do agree about the counseling. Need to think of my needs too as well as the kids. It actually was in the boat in the garage. Gross. She was someone he met on Ashley Madison. I'm pretty confident he ended it right after D-Day. As far as knowing it was just twice, I have all his gross emails and chats describing everything. Can't get the images out of my head. Makes me sick to think about. I'm not sure he could deal with no intimacy for 2 years. He says he can wait for as long as it takes. But I have a hard time seeing him waiting that long. A separation is something I've thought about. If it wasn't for the kids, I would have asked for at least a separation. Polygraph, he offered to take one. That doesn't mean he hadn't done it before though, so that's worth thinking about again. In one of his emails, he told her this was his first time stepping out. Could have easily been lying to her too. I have access, run all of our finances, as he's clueless about money matters. Didn't see anything out of the ordinary. As far as his potential lies to the other women, I didn't see anything about me at all really, or wanting to be loved. Was just all about sex. I'm sure he's really sorry he got caught, but it does also seem like he's showing actual remorse. Immediately after D-Day he quit going out to bars. I know, a big ask, right? Started helping out more around the house, does most of the cooking, involved with the kids a lot more, will do pretty much anything I ask him to without hesitation. He writes me poems and leaves me notes. Hasn't done it in a while though, as he said he feels like he is smothering me. It does feel like he is more remorseful than just regretful of being caught. I'll ask him about doing a timeline and tell him he needs to get polygraphed. Who knows, that alone may cause him to confess up other unfaithful crap he's done over the years. I'm really hoping it's only these 2 recent betrayals. I'm sure I could make it on my own just fine. Have looked at houses in the area. On this note, he actually accused me of intentionally leaving my phone out for him to snoop on, which he did. He found my recent house searches and was all upset. I told him he has no damn idea what upset is compared to when I found the crap on his phone. I actually sent him a few of the screenshots I took off his phone, some explicit ones he and his crap were exchanging. Told him to shut up about anything on my phone. I think he got it. I would tell my daughter to leave the cheating bastard, as I want her to be happy. Just not ready to decide yet. This limbo sucks. He has been tested and was clean, gave me the results. As far as busting him twice, not that it matters, but it was only once, as I found out about the MFM and his physical affair at the same time. His former B is married, or was at the time anyway. He said she let him know, but not 100% for certain, of course. Don't want anything to do with her or her poor spouse. Just want that chapter of this crappy book closed, as I can't stand thinking about that B. The only thing we argued about in our marriage was intimacy. He has a higher sex drive than me and would get frustrated with me from time to time about it. No one put an X to his head to force him to cheat though. This is all on him. He's a high school guidance counselor. The irony, I know. So he's either at work, home, or running a quick errand. Life 360 tracks his phone movements, so I always know where he is if I want to check, and it keeps a log of where he's been. So far, he's been exactly where he says he's going to be. Nothing's foolproof, I know, but I just don't see how he could have met up with anyone. I've been fooled before though. Also, not that this matters or counts for anything, but he did share that since I found out he no longer grooms down there, something he has done every day since I've known him, I guess in an effort to show me he's not using it. I'm like, whatever. He has no choice but to be frustrated while I'm trying to figure things out. Don't feel too bad for him. He's a high school guidance counselor. The irony, I know. So he's either at work, home, or running a quick errand. Life 360 tracks his phone movements, so I always know where he is if I want to check, and it keeps a log of where he's been. So far, he's been exactly where he says he's going to be. Nothing's foolproof, I know, but I just don't see how he could have met up with anyone. I've been fooled before though. Also, not that this matters or counts for anything, but he did share that since I found out he no longer grooms down there, something he has done every day since I've known him, I guess in an effort to show me he's not using it. I'm like, whatever. He has no choice but to be frustrated while I'm trying to figure things out. Don't feel too bad for him. A plan I am now thinking about is that after the holidays is to begin trying to reconcile with him. Maybe start January 1st, new year, new marriage, and put a decide date of 2 to 3 months from then. I really feel I need to stay in limbo to get through stressful Christmases with my family and his family. What are your thoughts on this plan? My family, I could be naive on this one too, but it really doesn't seem like they sense anything is different. We get along well like normal in front of them. He tucks our son in at night and wakes him up in the morning. Yesterday morning our daughter knocked on my door to ask him a question. Thinking he was still in bed, he was downstairs, but was up in a second. They know he gets up earlier than me, so nothing out of the ordinary there. Could be wrong though. It's been an issue for us for a long time. It's not that I'm not physically attracted to him, but his libido is way higher than mine. He literally needs me every night. Oftentimes he would just come to bed a little later than me, taking care of himself before coming to bed. Sometimes we have gone months without intercourse. We must have had a long dry spell back 5 years ago, as a couple of months ago he forwarded me an email he sent me back then on how to survive a sexless marriage. I'm sure he did that to try to put some blame on me about his affairs. So, I just don't know how intimacy would look for us. The only thing I do know for sure is that he is going to want to do something with me, or it, every night. Does he have a problem with having to have an orgasm every night? I just don't know how things would work in the bedroom to where we both can be happy. I could step my game up and have sex on a regular basis, as I enjoy it when I'm not tired. But every night thing he says he has to do has worn on me, to the point where I almost didn't mind him taking care of things in the basement. It's weird, when we are alone together, we chat just fine. I really don't mind being in the same room with him. It's kind of awkward, but we carry on just fine. Just can't think about being intimate with him is the biggie. I agree, I do need to try to get out of this limbo. It's not good for either one of us. I feel I need to take a mental break for a while, as the last 2 days have been heavy on me, as I haven't thought about the tough decisions I need to make soon. My comment: marriage does take two, but it only takes one to destroy the trust, not necessarily the marriage. I think she is just wondering, can I trust him again? He has the choice to leave, as well, if this waiting period is too much for him. He made the choice to cheat. He has the choice to stay, and she has the choice to move forward or end the marriage. But I don't think that she lives each day as though she were holding a grudge towards her husband. 6 months may seem like a long time, but all it took was 1 month for her husband to destroy her trust. It's not an easy decision. Story 3. Today, I'm 27 and have been married about 18 months. She is 28, 29 in July. We were friends for many years before we got married. No kids, no pets, and a lease which is up at the end of July. Last few months have been really rough between us. She has issued every year around the holidays, and I assumed it was just that all over again. Things did not get back to normal as they usually do. Last night I caught a glimpse of something that pushed me over my usual boundaries, and I went snooping through her computer. I found her list she keeps of partners, with a new name on there. A guy she works with, who started at her work after we were together. The file was last edited half a year ago and indicates kissing, ex-job, and traditional bonding. I do not know the frequency, but I do not think it's an ongoing affair. She does not know I know yet. Confrontation is planned for her when she gets home from work in about 3 hours. My original inclination was to change the locks, buy some boxes, and have people here ready to help her pack her crap and get out. I've since spoken with my father for some advice, and he cautioned me against doing anything too rash. I'm not sure where to go from here. I could be willing to reconcile, but that's going to depend on her. Regardless of where our marriage goes from here, I don't want her in my home for at least a few days. I'm due to house sit for my mother next week, starting Sunday. What can I say or do to get her to be willing to leave until then? Any advice for the confrontation? I don't even know what else to say. I do not intend to beg, and I don't think I'll cry. Seeing the list gave me a good gut check, but after how things have been going these last few months, it was not a complete surprise. I'm hoping to get her to leave for a few days and will not be having any contact with her for about a week while I'm away. As for confrontation, my goal is simply to let her know that I know, and this will not be tolerated. I do not want to wait, as I will not be able to be in this house with her for at least a few days, and only then, if she's showing signs of remorse. As far as feelings go, I'm mad and sad. We did premarital counseling through a church following my grandfather's direction, as he was the pastor who officiated our wedding. I'd followed all the directions for keeping separations in place between myself and female friends, co-workers, and it appeared that she had done the same. Regarding the reconciliation option, yes, this would depend on how she wants to proceed and reacts to the situation. I have several copies made, both electronically and hard copy, as well as a screenshot showing the last date of edit as being before. From my view, our marriage really took a downswing. I'm fairly confident there is nothing going on right now, as I have not seen his name pop up in any communications recently. She's not been working late or taking extended periods of unaccounted time away. The trigger for me last night was me catching her on eHarmony. More on this at the end. I do not think she'd be on a matchmaking site like that if she had a regular squeeze to confide in. I'm an IT person by trade, and the techno mind in the house. Anything and everything I feel relevant has been copied and backed up in multiple locations. I'm not looking to throw her under the bus. I want to know who, what, where, when, why, and then go from there. I'm aware I cannot force her out, but if she does not go willingly for at least a few days, I sure as hell will make our home unbearable for her to live in. I'm aware our marriage is in serious trouble, though I was not aware to what extent until today. I'm more than ready to walk away from this with the full support of my family, but I married her because I love her and am still willing to spend the rest of my life with her, but only if she's willing to put in the work as well. I have a laptop hooked up to the TV in the living room that we use as a media center. I've already purposed a webcam there and intend to record our interactions when she gets home to protect myself against any possible false charges. My dad has been through a false DV charge with his stepdad and is still living with the consequences. I will not make the same mistake. She had a very messed up childhood and family history. One way she copes with the chaos of her life is to organize and track everything you can possibly think of. It helps her get by day to day, and it helped me to find the proof I needed. Regarding confrontation, I will be at my mother's for a week from this Sunday. I do not want to let this sit and fester for that long. I've already printed it out and circled his name. I have it on hand to present to her upon her arrival home from work. Calling her work will be the next step depending on how tonight turns out. She typically will text me to tell me she is on the way home from work. I already intend to transfer all joint assets into my personal accounts before she gets home, and am ready to assume all joint charges for as long as needed. My computer will be on lockdown, but that won't matter as I've already made backups on an external drive and placed it in my lockbox, which is now in my car. Scare tactic will not work on her, as I'm sure you can see she's already got a foot out the door. The fact that she now has no leverage over me, and I have everything I need, is all I need to scare her straight. She shares a cell plan with her mother, who I assume has not been told about the affair per the emails I've been reading today. On top of that, she has a company phone for use for business issues, and she'd probably have just used that anyways. I don't think I'll need a VAR. I have no reason to believe she brought the into my home and marriage bed. I think this was a one-night stand type of thing, which happened at, or after, her company holiday get-together. As far as the I already have his name, number, and address, thanks to her meticulous record-keeping. I will be checking him out over the next few days, and if he has a WS I will present her with the evidence as well. I have no expectations of our talk tonight, other than to simply inform her of my knowledge and see where it goes from there. I will not be trusting anything that comes out of her for obvious reasons. Us moving past this is going to be very hard for me. Admittedly, I am a jealous man. She has a sordid sexual past, much more extensive than my own. This is in part due to her daddy issues. To make herself feel less bad about it, she will be making jokes about it from time to time. It puts me on edge when I hear her talking about other men and her past, and we've had talks about it before. She has refrained from that behavior for the most part since then. December would have been 14 months into the marriage. Her history starts at 18, and by this document she counts a total of 38 over 10 years, though not all of them were sexual contact. Some listed are phone, web sex. All listed save for this newest entry were before our relationship. Regarding the eHarmony issue, we were already pretty much on track to separate following the end of our lease. We had not spoken implicitly about it very much, but all the signs were there. The one time we did broach the subject of a trial separation, I indicated that I was not willing to go there, as I wanted to work through our issues, unknowing of just how big they really were at the time. I did not confront her on this. I'm not sure she knows I saw. She was literally doing it behind my back in our office as I was on my computer at the time on the other side of the office. If she wants to end things, move on, and see other men, then fine. But I'll be damned if she starts her search in my house while we are still together. She does not have my friends, and those she does have I do not think would cover for her like this. I'm fairly certain this was a one-night thing, and all the drama in our relationship since then has been her reacting to her guilt. Judging from her recent history, she may not be willing to reconcile, and I'll accept that if it turns out to be the case. That being said, if our recent struggle has been a result of her infidelity, and the exposure can move us into the light, then I can work with that to see if our marriage is worth saving. I am in my late 20s of age. As far as her sexual partners, I'm somewhere in the 20s out of 38 now. She has me listed there as that was when we first had sex, though our relationship did not start for another 5 years or so after that initial series of encounters. Following her, I had a few other girlfriends of my own, and even a son with one of them. After all that, we ended up together in a long-term relationship which resulted in our marriage. She was on 37 before we got together and got married. If she had documented me again, I'd have been number 38 and this OM would have been number 39. But yes, I do still have my whole life ahead of me. She's always said she never thought she'd be married, and that I was the only man she could have married. If we can't work things out, you can bet your ass I'll be warning every potential man she has later in her life. From what I can tell, she was with him after the last time her and I were together. We have not had sex since before Christmas, which makes sense now. She's the type that will have already gotten herself checked. I will go get checked out anyways just to be safe. I will be looking up some legal help next week while I'm away. Her biological dad is actually a family law lawyer. I expect she'll be leaning on him for counsel, and already has from what I can tell. Looks to me though that she's omitted her infidelity from him though. At the very least, he's been advising her to seek marriage counseling with me before anything is decided. Things were getting stressful leading into the holidays, so we were probably only having sex twice a month or so, sometimes more. Initiation was equal on both sides. Part of the issue was I had to work a second shift for about 6 months, ending in November, while she stayed on first shift. As far as I can tell, she's shut down completely physically since then. Update: we arrived home from work. I had already started the recording and transferred all joint accounts into my personal account. I sat her down and handed her the printout I had and told her to explain herself. No tears, and as best as she tried to hide her emotion, the only one I could see in her was fear. The talk went back and forth for about 45 minutes. She didn't even try to deny what had happened. She claimed, as I'd already figured to be true, that it was just the one-time physical encounter with the OM, though in retrospect and thinking about things that had been going on over the course of our marriage, I can definitely say there was a EA going on there. I told her she needed to leave the house until Sunday, when I'd be gone for a week. She refused at first, telling me maybe you should just leave. She seemed more upset over being asked, told to pack her things and go than she was about me finding her out. I finally gave her an ultimatum, which was that she could leave and have until Sunday to tell her folks what is going on or make me go, and I'd call them that night. She tried to call my bluff, and I had her mom's number ringing on speakerphone so fast she didn't know what else to do but get up and go start packing her things. She texted and asked several times over the weekend if she could come home. All went unanswered. I had a late night setter with some friends blowing off steam, and woke today, Sunday, with her having already arrived back home. She was not supposed to be back till after I left. I'm in the middle of getting my things together to leave for my mom's for the week. My comment: she's not marriage material. She didn't show remorse. She sounded too concerned about unimportant things during your discussion. Did she look like she cared? No,